Okay. We have something that we use in our company called the Epic 5I. So the 5 I's are the 5 general areas of everyone's finances. There's only 5, and they all start with an I. Does anybody know what they are? What do we got? They have to start with an I. What'd you say? Income. That's a good one. Insurance. Income taxes. Investments. And inheritance. Great job. But they're also all in order. So the first one is income. Second one is investments. The third one is insurance. The fourth one is income taxes. And the final one, of course, is inheritance, also including estate planning. So those are the 5 I's. And each of the epic part of the 5 I's. So we say epic 5I. There are 3 stages to the epic 5I. And the first stage, most all of you have gone through that. That's basically the EPIC stands for get engaged in a process that's interactive and comprehensive on all 5 I's. Okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. And the interactive part, here's kind of so I'm doing a little project at our home in Colorado Springs in the backyard. So we're putting outdoor fireplace and an outdoor kitchen, and when I get the bid, I'm choking. Are you kidding me? I could buy a house for that. All that landscaping and everything is so expensive. But the landscaping person that's doing it comes to the house, and she puts a big screen TV on our little kitchen thing, whatever you call those things in the kitchen. Thank you, island. She puts her big screen on the kitchen island and hooks up her laptop, and she says, here's what your backyard is going to look like. She clicks a button, and it's a video, and I'm walking through it. And I'm in front of the fireplace, and I'm going into the kitchen, there's the grill, and I'm just walking through it all with video, and then she says, oh, and here's what it looks like at night. Clicks a button, walking through it, seeing where all the lighting is and the lamps, and but then that allows me to make comments. So I'm like, oh, I don't like the lights there. I want down lights, not up lights there. Clicks a couple buttons, changes it, and I'm seeing it. So it's very interactive. I'm able to think about something, make a suggestion, see how it changes immediately. So we try to do that with you all, with our financial plans on the big screen, so you can ask questions and see the results interactively. So that's the I in stage 1 of the Epic 5I. Stage 2. The E stands for envision. So for all 5 I's, the first thing we're going to do is envision the plan. So we're going to envision it, that's the E, and then we're going to plan it. And so the way this works, so not that long ago, my wife and I bought my grandparents' little 80-acre farm. And I was going to wear my overalls today, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't even buy a pair yet, but maybe I will. A little farmer's hat. But the first thing, so what we've been doing is we've been envisioning what we want our farm to look like. So in that process, we have an architect helping us to envision it. And so now we have this big barn, and the big barn is going to have like 10 places where people can stay, like 10 hotel rooms in the barn. And then the barn's going to look down over where the horses are in the horse barn. And then we can see the creek that runs through it. And then you can see the dairy barn. So all of that, we're envisioning what we want. We have a big walking path that's going to go a couple miles along the creek and be lit up. And so basically we want to have some wine and wisdom events out there next year to have some fun. It's out north of St. Mary's. But we're envisioning it, and then once we've kind of envisioned it, okay, now we know what we want, now let's plan it. So now the architect's getting all over all the drawings, and now the next stage, once you've envisioned it, so for you all, for your income plan, you may want to be, okay, what do I want to have in the future? I want a vacation, I want to go to France, or I want to buy an RV, or I want to get a boat and keep fixing it and fixing it and fixing. I want that in my plan. So you're envisioning it. And so then we're building the plan to make that come to reality. So envision it, plan it, and then the next thing we do is we start implementing. Okay, we got the plan, so now I'm talking to my architects and I'm like, get some big caterpillar, some kind of something out there on the farm and start clearing the stuff. I want to see it. So, okay, but we got to do this first because we're going to do geothermal and all kinds of fun stuff. So it all has to be coordinated. So that's the C in the Epic 5I, stage 2. So once you've built that plan and you're beginning to implement it, you got to make sure it's coordinated with your income tax plan and your investment plan, and all of that stuff is coordinated on all 5 I's. That's stage 2, and then stage 3, the E stands for, now that we have it, let's evaluate it. So you're coming in, Alex is looking at your plan. Is it doing what we designed it to do? Is it working? Is your investment plan doing what it should be doing? We're evaluating it and then planning some more to improve it. Keep making it better. Even if it's just one small thing, make it better. And do that continuously on all 5 I's. So that's the 3 stages of the Epic 5I process. Who would like to repeat all that for me? Anybody got that down? Rick, you got that? Okay, good. All right. There you go. Yeah, see, Patricia, you're all about it. Those are the 5 I's. You'll see that sometimes on our screens and some of the stuff I'm talking about. So I was shooting some videos with Melissa Bruner. She's like, wow, this is cool. But she's not saying that when we're live. Mom. I'm like, no, show some excitement when we're live. Okay. So we're going to talk about the state of the economy, and so we're going to start off our discussion with inflation. Is anybody in here feeling any inflation at all? Mm-hmm. And are you feeling more inflation than what you're seeing being reported? Inflation is 3%. One year it was 8, but now it's 2.7. Are a lot of you feeling like, no, it feels like it's a little higher than that? Oh my gosh, my insurance just went up 40%. That's not 3%, 2.7. That's 40%. I could buy a new car every year for what I pay for insurance. It's crazy. And when my car gets in a wreck, they don't give me the amount of money I need to replace the exact car. Oh, you got to file this thing for a decrease in value thing, and It's sad, but inflation, I think here's where I felt it the other day. So don't judge me on this, but 15 to 20 times a year I drive from Colorado Springs to Kansas, Topeka. 15, 20 times a year. Because it takes me 7 hours to make that trip on I-70, most of it. But I can fly there in 7 hours. I drive from Colorado Springs to Denver, got to be there an hour and a half early, never know how much is going on there. Get on the plane, then I'm flying to Kansas City to then finally get off the plane, drive back to Topeka. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. So, and I'm on their schedule. I'd rather be on my schedule. Jump in the car, when I'm ready, away I go. So about 5 times a year when I'm making that trip, I hit this funky, weird thing on I-70 where they just decide to bring this big thing across the highway and close it. I got work to do. I cannot deal with that. And if I try to go to a hotel at that moment, what happens? They're all full. I know. It's so I have a Range Rover. Because the Range Rover has this little feature where you can just push a button and it raises 8 inches off the ground. And it's very heavy. And when those things go down, I can just drive right around them in the ditch and they keep right on going. It's awesome. And it has massaging seats. Okay, this is good. My 7-hour drive. And it has the, where it stays between the lines. What do they call that? It's not like autonomous driving. It's just like, yeah. So, but if you don't touch it, every 15 seconds, beep, 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 starts to shut down. Very annoying. But when you buy a new and don't ever buy new vehicles. I can do that. No, it's not a good thing, no. But when you buy a new Range Rover, they give you a little cooler, a little, I don't know, what do you call the thermos thing you can drink out of? They call it a flask. It's a flask. But I learned that if you fill that flask up about 3/4 full of water, you can slip it right in the steering wheel, set it on top, and it thinks your hands are driving the... It's great. You don't have to listen to the little nuisance, beep, beep. I'm just cruising. And it's awesome until you go past where you exit and they forgot to put the little striped lines on it. And there goes the Range Rover. Oh no, not going there. Okay, so, but inflation, where I felt inflation, so I go in to buy this, and I'm thinking, I'm a finance guy, I'm not paying sticker price for anything. We're gonna negotiate on that. So I go in and I said, so, what's the sticker price on this? He gives me the number, and I said, so, what will you take for it? And he goes, well, it's not going to be the sticker price. It's $25,000 over the sticker price. Oh, I'm not used to that. But I did kind of negotiate that down a little, but I still paid like 15 grand over the sticker price. That's inflation. And that was way more than 2.7%. So we're feeling a heck of a lot of inflation. And one of the key reasons that I think we're seeing that is because of the money supply. So the Federal Reserve has what they call M1 and M2. That's for the money supply. And it's basically the money that's floating around in the economy. how much you have in your checking account, how much you have in your savings account, how much you have in CDs, how much cash you have. And they call it, one of the measurements is M1 and one of them is called M2. So the other day I have this couple comes in to my office, new prospects, to meet with me, and the one gal's name is Michelle, but then they also bring with them another couple that's her brother and his wife, who's also named Michelle. And they're like, oh, you can talk about anything in front of, we all know each other's business. So that was the first time I'd ever experienced that. That was kind of weird. We didn't know that about you. Oh, we didn't know that. But, so they went by M1 and M2. And so it just kind of like clicked for me. It was just perfect. But the Fed is doing away with M1. I didn't tell them that. I didn't say M1's going to be gone soon. Also, when I said my wife and I bought my grandparents' farm, I did not say I bought the farm. Big difference. Don't go telling people Carl bought the farm. Gonna miss him. So M1, M2. So mostly now it's just M2, and that's how much money is floating around in the economy. In 1960, that amount of money that was out there floating around was about 110 billion. 1960, 110 billion in M2. Now each year they kind of tend to float a little more money out there because it helps all the politicians look better, like they're helping everybody. But what has to happen every time there's more money printed money thrown out into the economy, everything has to go up a little bit in prices to get back to equilibrium. So slowly they're going along from 1960 at 110 billion to 2020. That number increased from 110 billion to 4 trillion. 46, that's 60 years. It went up by almost 4 trillion over 60 years. In 2020, the M2 money supply went up from 4 trillion to 16 trillion in 5 months. In 5 months. You see that graph where the line goes up? That's 2020. Going along, see how slowly it was kind of increasing. Boom! They just threw money into the economy. And when I'm seeing that, I'm thinking, has to get back to equilibrium. We're going to see some pretty massive inflation, and it's not going to be fixed quickly. So generally, you could almost say if they 4 times the money supply, they went from 4 trillion to 6 trillion, prices are going to eventually have to go up almost 4 times. Not just 40%, that's 400%. So I'm kind of getting ready. I'm knowing this is going to happen. It didn't happen as soon as I thought because they kind of kept putting more out and putting more out. And but then it did. It hit. Now they're starting to take some money back out. You see that? They're taking some money back out of the economy, so that's helping. So maybe it doesn't have to go up 4 times. But then some other things started happening that the country is slowly becoming more productive. So we're producing as much or more with less. And a lot of what's helping us to do that is AI, artificial intelligence. Just like my robot that you just saw earlier, artificial intelligence. It's not as smart as me yet. I'm just, may get there. So I'm trying to stay ahead of it. So that's helping though. All of a sudden we got more production. So when you have more growth going on in the economy, it helps keep the inflation from screaming up. It's also a supply and demand issue that's going on. And so we're able to have more supply and the demand of what people want is lessening. One of the reasons is millennials. We don't want stuff, we want experiences, okay? So they're not buying stuff. They're not buying stuff, so the demand is going down. Also, sometimes the older people get, the less they spend. My mom can't even spend her entire Social Security check. I don't need anything. So we're having less demand, and more people are retiring, getting older. 10,000 people a day are retiring. And so that's about 3 million a year, 3.5 million a year, and fewer people are coming into the workforce. So we're getting more retiring that are spending less money, don't have to fill your tank up with gas every day because you're running back and forth to the office. Now people are working remote, so you're not going downtown for lunch. So we're spending less. The supply is increasing, what we're spending is less, so that's also helped inflation. I think we'll still have to see some increase in prices, even though, they say, inflation's just about gone, but I think we're still gonna have to feel some of it for a while. It's not done. But it's definitely getting tampered because of these things that are happening out there. So that's a little bit about inflation. Now we're going to talk about the jobs. But one of the things, I'm going to come back to this because there are a couple people in here that are drawing Social Security. I know maybe one. I see one back there. So they're saying the Social Security system, they're not going to be able to pay as much as they promised at about 2034. Only going to be able to pay about 70% of what they promised. So the labor force is one of those reasons. So for a long time, we were all working, and we're paying into the Social Security system. And it's a trust fund. It's not very trustworthy, but it's a trust fund. They keep borrowing money from it. But all that money is supposed to be going in there, and then they were turning around and paying out to people that were getting Social Security, which was way less than what was being paid in. More was going in than what was going out. So it was building up a surplus. And then 10 years ago, we had a switch, and all of a sudden, we made a little switch and we started paying out more than what people were paying in. So the surplus started, to pay it, they had to dip into the surplus, dipping in every year. And so what they're saying is about 2035, there's no more anything to dip into. So right now we can only tell you that we're going to be able to pay you about 70% of what we promised. They can fix it. And, I'm sure they'll fix it real quick. Congress is good at that, fixing things right away when these get fixed. But it's not, if all they did right now is said instead of 62, it's going to be age 64, that would pretty much fix it. But the longer they wait, the more drastic the fix is going to have to be. I think they'll fix it and they'll figure out how, but so that whole thing that's happening with jobs is what's causing the Social Security problem. But we're having more people retire than what are entering the workforce. So that's also creating a weird thing where the Fed keeps thinking they're going to lower interest rates, but then we can't because normally when you're going through tough times, the unemployment rate starts going up. Not as many people are working. So now, what's happening is more people are leaving the workforce, fewer people are coming into the workforce. So we're staying at this really low unemployment rate. So they're going to have to deal with that for a while. And people are having problems finding good people to work for them. It's really hard. And that's one of the reasons that's happening. So maybe one of the fixes for that will be AI. So as they start having more and more things happening with AI, it's like the Jetsons. It's here already. We don't all see it yet. And it's like, well, the Jetsons had maids that were robots. There was even a name for, what was her name? Rosie? Yeah, Jetsons had the AI robots. So, but as those become more and more into our economy, they're going to replace a lot of those jobs. So we'll be able to have the workforce still enough to get the job done, and that'll keep getting better and better. So I was at a conference in Vegas, and tech conference. And so they have the AI robots kind of running around, coming up and talking to you. So like one of them came up to me, Carl, how are you doing? Of course I see I'm wearing a little name tag, so they read my name tag and knew who I was. And I'm like, I'm doing really bad. I think I may die in a day or two. I was throwing them for a little loop to see what would happen. Oh, that's too bad. Yeah, that's what they said. I'm like, whoa, this is too weird. I'm getting out of here. So it's coming. I had so we work with aerospace people in our Colorado Springs office. And so one of the engineers was in as a client telling us what they were doing. So they had a certain a mass of weight, a cube. And so they had all of their engineers design the most efficient table to hold that. And when they got done, they went to AI and said, this is the size and the weight of this cube. Design a table to hold that that's very efficient. And they were just like watching, it was happening on a screen. It was designing it and building it, like right in front of their eyes. And so their table had like a center column, like, the old-fashioned tables. The AI thing built this thing that looked like they said it looked like a tree. So it started at the base of the table with a whole bunch of branches that started coming down and down, then to a trunk, then back out again. And then they had some kind of printer that printed it, and they put the weight of the thing on there. And it actually ended up holding 4 times the weight of the table they designed and was 1/10 of the cost. So we're not, day to day, we're not all seeing that kind of stuff, but it is coming. It's not going to come as fast as we're going to hear that it is. Like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to be out of work and robots are going to be killing us all next year. My father he and his business partner owned about a dozen banks in Kansas, small towns. This was 45 years ago, maybe a little longer. And all the banks, they all had, they didn't have computers to run all their numbers. They had some, you guys remember how they used to do it? It was called a what? Like a green and white ledger thing. Yeah, they're just writing it down all day, writing it down. You brought in $10 minus your balance. It was very, very inefficient. So my dad sees this supercomputer running a bank in New York. And he's like, whoa, that's really cool. I want that. So he goes and he gets the price to buy one of those. Oh, we'll stick with the ledger. But then he comes up with an idea. And he says, here's what we're going to do. So we are going to go out. I'm going to talk to, he ended up getting 100 banks, agree to form a cooperative, and all of them together bought a supercomputer. And then they ran it to where it would run all 100 banks. That was the first data center in Kansas. So my dad loved technology, so he says to me, this was about 45 years ago, he says, Carl, I guarantee you in 5 years, nobody will be using checks ever again. Anybody in here still use a check? Probably half, more than half, 3/4 of the people. That was 40 years ago, and he said, okay, that's not gonna happen. The reason it hasn't happened as fast as he predicted is because although technology is very fast to change, people, not so much. I want my check, I want to be able to see it, I want to be able to send it. So what ends up happening is, and this is going to happen with AI, so that's why you're hearing, oh, it's going to happen so fast, it's coming. That AI stuff is changing very rapidly, but guess what who isn't going to change very rapidly? Us, yeah. I still can't deal with that little Roomba vacuum cleaner. Whoa, get that out of my house. So we're not going to be slow to change, but maybe 10 years, 5 to 10 years, it's going to really be rolling out. It's going to be rolling out like crazy, and but 5 to 10 years. So in our portfolio, so about 7 years ago, we decided, okay, I think tech is going to be here to stay, finally. So we built a technology portfolio, about 15 tech companies in there. And then about almost 2 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we said, let's pick the ones that we think are going to benefit the most from AI. The ones that are going to benefit the most from AI, we selected those, 10 of those, and those are the ones that we now own in our tech portfolio. And there's one of those that now has the lead in AI. They're doing the best in the AI world. Does anybody know the name of that company? Okay, I just heard that pronounced 4 different ways. I'm going to give you the official pronunciation, all right, so you can impress your friends and neighbors. So NVIDIA, the name, so I think it's Latin, so they went and got this Latin word, INVIDA. That word in Latin means envy, envy. And then they said, now we're going to call it Next Vision Envy. That was too long, not cool enough, so they named it NVIDA. NVIDIA. And so it always sounds weird when people say it. Chinese, Japanese people think they know NVIDIA or however they do it. But that's not right, it's just NV. And that's cool too, right? The other part stood for envy, the NV, envy. So, NVIDIA. They have the lead, and it was by accident. You know, they're going to say how smart they were. They developed all this stuff. But NVIDIA, they started out as a gaming software company. Gaming. Well, what they found out was as gaming was exploding, and now people were playing games with, playing a game against somebody in another country, they needed speed to really make those games awesome to sell more of their stuff. So they worked real hard and came up with a processor and a chip that was really fast to run that gaming technology. And then it still wasn't fast enough. So they started developing, quite a while back, artificial intelligence and software to run those chips and processors. So then when they nailed the speed, was just about the same time everybody wanted fast, because for AI, they have to have extremely fast processors that are, when you go into ChatGPT and you say, you're going to do a little bit of research on one topic, immediately you click it and they go out and search the entire internet and have an answer back to you and summarized in less than a second or two. That takes massive speed to be able to go search through all that data and come back, compile it, and put it right there in front of you. So, NVIDIA, up, I think they are what some of these other companies are going to look like in the next 3, 4, 5, 7 years. So, let's say from 5 years ago to today, NVIDIA is up like 3,000%. That's a lot. For those of you that don't know percentages and numbers, let's just say that's a lot. The S&P 500 over that same period of time is up 85%, not 3,000%. So they have the lead, but I think that's what we're going to see. And that was one that we had in our portfolio of the 10 that we picked, because we said, okay, I think this is going to be one that's going to really make it. It's actually now also the biggest company in the world. Size of it just beat Apple. So Apple was the biggest one in the world. Now, the one that nobody knows how to pronounce is the biggest company in the world. So that's AI. And so when I talk about, I need some more vodka. No, I'm good. It's water. I'm still good. When I'm talking about the stock market and the economy, I don't know that it's going to be so great. There's a lot of stuff we're going through, but I think when we talk about our stock portfolio, it's going to be awesome. And I think so does anybody know how many companies are represented in the S&P 500? It's not a trick question. 400. It's 500. It's 500 companies, mostly the biggest 500 companies in the United States, mostly. I think over the next 10 years, probably 200 to 300 of those companies won't even be in there. They'll either be bankrupt or somebody else bought them. So I think we're going to see some pretty big changes, and that's not going to be good for the stock market. But right now, the S&P 500, pretty much the tech companies that we own, are driving this big increase. So there's 500 companies represented. Each company is not equal to 1/500th. So they do it by size of the companies. So 40% of the S&P 500 is basically the 10 tech companies that we own. That's 40% of it. So all of this huge increase in the S&P 500 is not really the economy and the stock market. It's AI that's starting to drive it. So, state of the economy, don't think it's going to be all that. Are you telling me you went and got me some water. Oh, I got to give her my keys to the Range Rover.
See ya.
Thank you. Can I go? The flask. It's very nice. Now I forgot. Oh, okay. So the economy, I don't think is going to do all that well. The market, if you took those 10 companies out of there, I don't think it's going to do that well. But we're positioning ourselves with those main companies. Now, we're not all tech. So some of you, we have a few other companies. One of the other companies that's non-tech that is probably doing the best of the non-tech companies, and I don't know why, because nobody shops there. Costco. I don't get it. So Microsoft is up 250% in 5 years. 250%. Costco is up 250% in 5 years. Those damn chickens. They just sell the heck out of them. No, they don't. I don't know. They sell like cheap chickens or something. They have a chicken farm. But Costco does have some pretty cool stuff. So there will be some companies that will be able to, Amazon. So Amazon hasn't done that well over the last 5 years, but they're starting to crank up AI. So, and I don't know, I'm going to imagine Costco probably has some AI working for them now in their warehouses and sorting and figuring out what they should be buying and not buying, right, Mark? It's a complicated thing. How are you going to figure out how to stock the shelves and get them loaded? And so, and it's amazing to see a grocery store making that kind of money. They usually work on very thin, small margins. So, state of the economy, stock market, maybe not really good, probably not real bad unless we see something funky happen, which could be something like an election. I don't know, might have an election coming up. Could that affect the stock? Thank you, Lita. Thank you very much. Could that affect the stock market? So let's talk about that for just a minute. Here's some numbers. Now, everybody just relax in case you have a Democrat and a Republican at your table. Be friendly. I'm going to be even-handed here. Democrat president. So they went back from 1933 until 2022. And they said, what happens when these different things exist? So the one on the left, if a Democratic president was put into office, and the far left below, if it's also a Democratic 100%, House, Senate, Democrat, President, the Democrat, that was up 9%. And they're saying the first year after it happened. What happened to the stock market? Well, on average, when that happens, market's up 9%. But the second column, under the blue, Democratic president, and there's a divided Congress. That one is pretty much the best scenario for the Republicans and the Democrats if the Congress is divided. Why is that? Can't get anything done. Stock market loves that. Leave me alone. We just want to run our company and make some money, get our stock price up. I love it. So the year after that happened, 13.6% on average up. And if it's a Democratic president and the Congress is all Republican, 13%. Still not too bad because maybe they're going to fight. Then if a Republican is brought in and the Congress is all Democrat, that's the worst one, 4.9%. And that president is probably going to die young. Republican president, full Democrat Congress. But if the Congress is divided, that's the best one, but only by just a tiny little bit. So for now, Republican president, divided Congress has the bragging rights. Stock market was up 0.1% more under our thing. And then Republican, all Republican Congress and Republican president, 12.9%, which is interesting that the all Republican House and the Democrat president actually beat that scenario. That's just almost kind of a little bit weird, but and those averages are pretty good. But that means, there were some years where it was negative, but for the most part, you add them all up. That first year after, and it really didn't matter, we had a pretty good year after the election. Now, whenever it switches from a Democrat to a Republican, or from a Republican to a Democrat, everybody says, so if it was a Democrat and then a Republican gets it, the Democrats say, that's because we had it all teed up for you, just ready to just knock the ball down the court. If the Republicans switch to a Democrat, what do they say? That's because we had it all teed up for you. So who knows who's teeing it up, who's not teeing it up. And sometimes the president has trouble really getting anything done, just the president. There's so much going on with all the political stuff and the politicians, and then the people that aren't politicians that have just been doing everything the same way for years. So, but that doesn't mean that we won't see some kind of weird drop in the market. That's the reason for all of you that we have some safety in your portfolios. So generally we're doing that with annuities, fixed annuities that are safe and can't go down in value, but they track indexes like the S&P 500. So when the S&P 500 is up, they can go up. When the S&P 500 is down, they can't go down. So this year, those are making 10, 11, 12%, because the S&P is up, but they cap it. You're not going to find anything in the S&P that you have no downside and all of the upside, or we'd be getting that. So we do that, and we're doing maybe a little bit more in CDs, especially if somebody needs liquidity, because CDs are making, they used to be 0.5% or 1%. Now they're 5%. And a money market account is 5%. So we have this safety in there, especially if you are drawing money out of your investments to live on. We're drawing that money out of your stock portfolios. And so we're just kind of taking profits, kind of like in Vegas, take some chips off the table, I'm up. No, I can't, I'm making so much. Well, you can take some chips off the table, and for any of you that have some needs in the not too distant future, 6 months, 12 months, up to 2 years, I'm gonna need $50,000 to remodel my bathroom. What, your bathroom? 50 grand? Are you kidding me? I'm seeing that. But if you have some things that you're seeing in the future, now may be a good time to move some money out of the market. Just set it aside, put it in a money market account, earning 5%, and now you got the money there. And so when the market does take a big dip, 20 or 30%, you're like, we got what we needed. We can wait till it comes back. Because all those big stocks do follow the market, but they come back up too. And they're moving up a lot. Okay. Is that my last slide? Do I have another slide? Oh, I forgot to talk about, thank you. I forgot the announcement. So we have what is called the Carlson Club that's been kind of added to our events that we do. And the Carlson Club has a few separate events that they do in addition to the Wine and Wisdoms. Generally, it might be a little smaller. It's a smaller group than the whole group, although I would love to have it be the whole group. But the Carlson Club, the way you get into the Carlson Club is if you introduce us to someone and we meet with them, that gets you into the Carlson Club for a year. So, and then the Carlson Club has special events and really that's more than anything, that is meant to be a thank you to those people that have done that. Like, hey, you introduced us to somebody, we're gonna try and change their lives financially and do some awesome things for them, just like we're doing for you. So that's a thank you. If that person becomes a client, they're also in the Carlson Club for a year. So don't introduce us to somebody that you don't like. You're hanging out with them for a year. So the next event that is coming up for the Carlson Club, so if you introduce someone now, they meet with us, and even if it's like, they couldn't meet because of our calendars or it's just too close, we can figure out how to deal with that. So the one that's coming up, there it is. See, and you have it on your table. So we're doing concerts in the fall for the Carlson Club. And anybody in the Carlson Club can also go to any of our other cities So like in Virginia Beach, the Carlson Club this fall is going to Huey Lewis and the News. I don't even know what they sing, but some people love them. Oh, Hootie and the Blowfish. That all sounds the same to me. I don't know what they sing either. Hootie and the Blowfish. I don't even like to say it. So then there is, in Richmond, the Carlson Club event is going to be Alabama. Play me some country music like Grandma and Grandpa used to do. And then in September in Colorado Springs, and by the way, it's only a 7-hour drive. Put the flask in, you're good to go. But it's in Denver at the Coors Field, and it's 3 bands. It's Def Leppard, Journey, and Cheap Trick. I want you to want me. So stuff like that, okay? And but the one here for Kansas is very appropriately Kansas. And they're playing at TPAC October the 3rd. They sold out and they added this night. So, and this is their 50th anniversary, and that's a pretty cool band. I do know some of their songs. Dust in the wind, oh yeah. Was that meant to be a sad song? I don't know. But that's Kansas. Oh, yeah. So that's the Carlson Club. Introduce us to someone to help change their lives, and we'll do an awesome job for them. And then we'll thank you with some of the things that we're doing for our Carlson Club. Hey, if you're never in the Carlson Club, we still love you too, all right? It's not always easy to find someone. But if you hear somebody talking and they're like, hey, you know, I'm just retiring, I'm looking for somebody, you know, mention them to us and we'll give you a thank you for that. And that is it for me. I made you wait for dessert until I was done. And so that, you know, you wouldn't all go to sleep on me. So they have dessert back there. And we're going to have the band back up here. Now, I made the band, maybe they all went home. I made the band play quietly. I said, you got to play quietly. We like to talk a little bit and hear it. So here in a little bit, we're going to let them play. Well, kind of almost at the volume they want to play. Our drum has to be at the same sound as our guitar. Okay, whatever. So we're going to let them do that unless they already got mad at me and left. Did they leave? They're still here. Okay. So that's it for me. Grab some dessert, hang out. There's still more drinks back there, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you all very much. One more time,